It's the oldest hatred, and it always ends with the Jews. And now, of course, you have an economic incentive because you can make money on X, right? You get a lot of clicks, you get dollars in your pocket. The question is not that you can get dollars in your pocket. Why do you think that it's popular and resurgent? Is it October 7th combined with the kind of conspiracism that's around MAGA? I've been trying to get my arms around this idea that Jew hatred has come back with such vehemence.
I think Kmele will know this as well from his Silicon Valley work and his partnerships, his work on free speech. Some of it is about globalism. So globalism is often used as the catch-all for Jews, Soros, everything else. Globalists. It's Jews who want the idea of free trade because they're in every country and that's what they really profit from. It's Jews who are letting people over the border. They're encouraging migrants to come in so they can stock their factories that they're running with very cheap labor. It's this idea that it's Jews who have their hands. It's always Jews who have their hands behind the events. So they're motivating them and creating them. And the JFK files is a perfect example. I can't tell you how many times, dozens of times in these files that I've looked through, these 80,000 pages. One of the things the CIA had always kept redacted was information about a foreign intelligence agency that it had contact with. So now we see for the first time that they were contacted the MI6 on something. Another time it was West German intelligence. Another time it's French intelligence. And then there's a point at which it's Israeli intelligence. Of course, all the conspiracy theorists jump on the Israeli intelligence and they say, Israeli intelligence, Mossad, that means that somehow the CIA must have been working with the Mossad probably to get Oswald over to Cuba so the Israelis could train him as an assassin. And I say, what? It goes from what I call 0 point, which is the disclosure of a document, to somebody then posting on X the craziest theory you could imagine that you don't even think about. And the next thing, it has 100,000 likes. And I'm sure that in a day or two, Candace Owens will be listing the groups of Mossad agents that could spell Oswald back.
Yeah.
Or you get an Elon retweet with interesting.